Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the church.
Amen. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church in Holy Convention. I'd like to start our class today in Psalms chapter 36. Psalms chapter 36 and verse 1 through chapter 37 and verse 40. The title of this class today is Charity. Psalms chapter 36 and verse 1 through chapter 37 and verse 40.
Verse 1. The transgression of the wicked says within my heart that there is no fear of Elohim before his eyes. For he flattereth himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He hath left off to be wise and to do good. He devises mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Thy mercy, O Yahweh, is in the heavens, and thy faithfulness reaches unto the clouds. Thy righteousness is like the great mountains. Thy judgments are a great deep. O Yahweh, thou preservest man and beast. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O Elohim! Therefore the children of men put their trust under the shadow of thy wings. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them drink of the river of thy pleasures. For with thee is the fountain of life. In your light shall we see light. Oh, continue thy loving kindness unto them that know you, and thy righteousness to the upright in heart. Let not the foot of pride come against me, and let not the hand of the wicked remove me. There are the workers of iniquity fallen. They are cast down and shall not be able to rise. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be you envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yahweh, and do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and yes, you shall be fed. Delight yourself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way unto Yahweh, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. Rest in Yahweh, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger, and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, you shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Adonai shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow, to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man have is better than the riches of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but Yahweh upholdeth the righteous. Yahweh knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahweh shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume, into smoke shall they consume away. The wicked borroweth, and payeth not again, but the righteous showeth mercy and giveth. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahweh, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for Yahweh upholdeth him with his right hand. I have been young, and now am old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. He is ever merciful and lendeth, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good, and dwell forevermore. For Yahweh loveth judgment, and forsaketh not his saints. They are preserved forever. But the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land, and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watches the righteous, and seeketh to slay him. Yahweh will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on Yahweh, and keep his way, and he shall exalt you to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, you shall see it. I have seen the wicked in great power, and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. But the transgressor shall be destroyed together, the end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of Yahweh. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And Yahweh shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them, because they trust in him.
Amen and amen. 1 John 3, in verse 1 through verse 24. 1 John chapter 3, in verse 1 through verse 24. John chapter 3, in verse 1 through verse 24.
Verse 1. Behold, what manner of love the Father hath bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of Elohim. Therefore the world knoweth us not, because it knew him not. Beloved, now we the sons of Elohim, and it does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is.
Amen.
And every man that have this hope in himself purify himself, even as Yahshua is pure. Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. And you know that Yahshua was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth have not seen him, neither known him. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as Yahshua is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Elohim was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of Elohim does not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of Elohim.
So that means that if he's born of Elohim, that he is a new creature. This is why he cannot commit sin, correct? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Verse 10. In this, the children of Elohim are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of Elohim, neither he that loveth not his brother. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And why did he slay him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer have eternal life abiding in him. Hereby perceive we the love of Elohim, because he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. But whoso have this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of Elohim in him? My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And hereby we know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before him. For if our heart condemn us, Elohim is greater than our heart, and knoweth all things. Beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then have we confidence toward Elohim. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. And this is his commandment, that you should believe on the name of his Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, and love one another as he gave us commandments. And he that keepeth his commandments dwelleth in him, and he in him. And hereby we know that he abideth in us by the Spirit which he hath given us.
Amen and amen. Our thoughts must be ruled by righteousness, because thoughts govern our actions. This is why we are instructed to pray without ceasing, to sing spiritual songs from the heart, and to allow the Word to dwell richly within us as we meditate on a spiritual plane. If we follow these instructions, we won't allow our vain self-will nor situation and circumstances to puff us up against what the Spirit is surely working in our person. And having on the whole armor of the Spirit, we learn to bear our cross, giving thanks to Yahweh for such power over our flesh. Psalms chapter 39 and verse 1 through verse 13. Psalms chapter 39 and verse 1 through verse 13.
Verse 1. I said, I will take heed to my ways, that I sin not with my tongue. I will keep my mouth with a bridle, while the wicked is before me. I was done with silence, I held my peace, even from good, and my sorrow was stirred. My heart was hot within me, while I was musing, the fire burned. Then spoke I with my tongue, Yahweh, make me to know mine end, and the measures of my days, what it is, that I may know how frail I am. Behold, thou hast made my days as an handbreadth, and mine age is as nothing before thee. Verily, every man at his best state is altogether vanity. Surely every man walketh in a vain show. Surely they are disquieted in vain. He heapeth up riches, and knoweth not who shall gather them. And now, Adonai, what wait I for? For my hope is in thee. Deliver me from all my transgressions. Make me not the reproach of the foolish. I was dumb, I opened not my mouth, because you did it. Remove your stroke away from me. I am consumed by the blow of your hand. When you with rebukes do correct man for iniquity, you make his beauty to consume away like a moth. Surely every man is vanity. Hear my prayer, O Yahweh, and give ear unto my cry. Hold not your peace at my tears, for I am a stranger with you and a sojourner as all my fathers were. Oh, spare me, that I may recover strength before I go hence and be no more.
Amen. Proverbs 17 in verse 1 through verse 28. Proverbs chapter 17 in verse 1 through verse 28.
Better is a dry morsel and quietness therewith than a house full of sacrifices with strife. A wise servant shall have rule over a son that causes shame, and shall have part of the inheritance among the brethren. The refining pot is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but Yahweh trieth the hearts. A wicked doer giveth heed to false lips, and a liar giveth ear to a naughty tongue. Whoso mocketh the poor reproaches his maker, and he that is glad at calamity shall not be unpunished. Children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their fathers. Excellent speech becometh not a fool, much less do lying lips a prince. A gift is as a precious stone in the eyes of him that have it. Whithersoever it turneth, it prospereth. He that covereth a transgression seeketh love, but he that repeateth a matter separateth very friends. A reproof entereth more into a wise man than 100 stripes into a fool. An evil man seeketh only rebellion. Therefore a cruel messenger shall be sent against him. Let a bear robbed of her whelps meet a man, rather than a fool in his folly. Whoso rewardeth evil for good, evil shall not depart from his house. The beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore leave off contention before it be meddled with. He that justifieth the wicked, and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to Yahweh. Wherefore is there a price in the hand of a fool to get wisdom, seeing he have no heart to it? A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. A man void of understanding striketh hands, and becometh surety in the presence of his friend. He that loveth transgression, that loveth strife. Verse 19, he loveth transgression, that loveth strife, and he that exalteth his gate seeketh destruction. He that have a forward heart findeth no good, and he that have a perverse tongue falleth into mischief. He that begetteth a fool doeth it to his sorrow, and the father of a fool have no joy. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. A wicked man taketh a bribe out of the bosom to pervert the ways of judgment. Wisdom is before him that have understanding, but the eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth. A foolish son is a grief to his father, and bitterness to her that bear him. Also, to punish the just is not good, nor to strike princes for equity. He that have knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he holds his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding.
Amen and amen. When we muse with the temptations of our fleshly minds, the more we persist in self-will. Surely we add woe to our sorrows of our personal lives. And as the soul continues to muse in one's woes and sorrows, it's because the demon trying to destroy us in the flesh has been slowly stripping us of our virtue. Then, being deceived, we believe that the inside of our cup has no need to be cleansed. And we find no room for repentance from the problems we invite Lucifer to cause us for blinding our own eyes. Yet our sorrows are not trials, but chastisement. And chastisement shows that the hand of Yahshua is stretched out still for us to repent. So when we mortify the deeds of the body, a little bit more of the troubles of the mind is put to rest. We must remember that having the wrath of the woes of Lucifer removed from us, this does in no way change our sorrows in our daily lives upon the earth. So we must learn to be very careful as to the seeds we sow in things concerning the flesh. Then we might see that Yahweh has granted a soul the ability to maintain our purpose. We may not understand his timing and methods, but no doubt his hands have sustained us. So let us rejoice in Yahweh in whatsoever pleasures we obtain, because you won't miss anything until you lose it, and it's you who will have the ultimate decision, because it is in your power. 1 Corinthians 7 and verse 20 through verse 24. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 20 through verse 24.
Verse 20. Let every man abide in the same calling wherein he was called. Are you called being a servant? Care not for it. But if you may be made free, use it rather. For he that is called in the Adonai being a servant is the Adonai's free man. Likewise, also he that is called being free is the anointed one's servant. You are bought with a price. Be not you the servants of men. Brethren, let every man, wherein he is called, therein abide with Elohim.
Okay, my brother, chapter 10 and verse 1 through verse 33. Chapter 10 and verse 1 through verse 33.
Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moshe in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was the anointed one. But with many of them Elohim was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be you idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt the anointed one, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur you, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed, lest he fall. There have no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. I speak as to wise men, judge you what I say. The cup of blessing which we bless, is it not the communion of the blood of the anointed one? The bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of the anointed one? For we being many are one bread and one body, for we are all partakers of that one bread. Behold Israel after the flesh. Are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What say I then? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything? But I say that the things which the Euro-Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Elohim. And I would not that you should have fellowship with devils. You cannot drink the cup of the Adonai and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Adonai's table and of the table of devils. Do we provoke the Adonai to jealousy? Are we stronger than he? All things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Whatsoever is sold in the meat market, that eat, asking no questions for conscience sake. For the earth is the Adonai's, and the fullness thereof. If any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, and you be disposed to go, whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no question for conscience sake.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can eat anything unclean just because Paul is saying this. You have to understand that Paul came from a lineage of people and a nation of people that was accustomed to not eating unclean foods. But go ahead and read it and tell you what he's really talking about, brother.
Verse 28. But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that showed it, and for conscience sake. For the earth is the Adonai's, and the fullness thereof. Conscience, I say, not your own, but of the other. For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience? For if I by grace be a partaker, why am I evil spoken of for that for which I give thanks? Whether therefore you eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of Yahweh. Give none offense neither to the Jews, nor to the Euro-Gentiles, nor to the church of Elohim. Even as I please all men in all things, not seeking mine own profit, but the profit of many, that they might be saved.
Becoming all things to all men, not without law, but according to the grace of God. Philippians 3, in verse 1 through verse 21. Philippians 3, in verse 1 through verse 21. Philippians chapter 3, in verse 1 through verse 21.
Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Adonai. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe.
Philippians is the book right behind Ephesians. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Philippians chapter 3, verse 1. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Adonai. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the concision. For we are the Jews which worship Yah in the spirit and rejoice in the Adonai Yahshua, and have no confidence in the flesh. Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man think of where he have, that he have whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which it is in the law, blameless.
He didn't say touching the letter of the law, now did he? He said touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 7. But what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for the anointed one. Yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Yeshua HaMashiach, my Adonai, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win the Anointed One, and be found in him, not having mine own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of the Anointed One, the righteousness which is of Elohim by faith,
Amen.
that I may know him and the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his sufferings, being made conformable unto his death, if by any means I might attain unto the resurrection of the dead. Not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of the Anointed One, Yeshua. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before, I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of Elohim in the Anointed One, Yeshua. Let us therefore, as many as be perfect, be thus minded. And if in anything you be otherwise minded, Elohim shall reveal even this unto you. Nevertheless, whereunto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule, let us mind the same thing. Brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so as you have us for an example. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of the Anointed One, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Adonai Yeshua HaMashiach, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself.
Amen and amen. 2 Peter 1, in verse 1 through verse 12. Yeah.
That's like saying, a lot of people saying nowadays, I got this on my own. Nobody helped me. But if you accomplish something that you done prayed on, you're supposed to give that glory to the Messiah and the Creator, right?
That's what all of us are supposed to do. Anything that we accomplish, we're supposed to give, especially the things that we accomplish toward righteousness, we're supposed to give Yahweh the glory for these things, simply because of the fact that it is his spirit that gave us the power to accomplish these things. And there are a lot of things that we come up in that we have in life, my brother, that once we come into the word of Yahweh, and as we begin to grow in grace, a lot of things we find that we lose. A lot of our loved ones we lose. I mean, it may not be made manifest in the outward show, but you can see it, that the thrill is gone, you see. And a lot of things that we are given by the adversary, the devil, before we come into the word, then a lot of those things we begin to lose, simply because Lucifer is taking back what he gave you. Let's understand that. A lot of times we say, well, Yahweh gave me this and Yahweh gave me this. Sure, we know he did it in the overall picture of things, but what happened was this. The adversary, the devil, he was the one that gave us those things to keep us under his rule and desiring more of those things. You see, but when the time of reformation comes, you can believe one thing: Satan's going to take back whatever Yahweh gives him the opportunity to take back, and you should be glad to let him have it. Sure, it's going to cause some griefs and so forth and so on, but it's his. Give it back to him, because if you don't, you're going to look down the line and you're going to see you got some very, very serious problems that Satan is still up in your chest. 2 Peter 1, in verse 1 through verse 12. Of course, brother. You have to be, in order to deal with the true and living God, you have to be in a position to where you're ready to give up all of the natural things that you possess simply because Yahweh is dealing with you on a spiritual level, and he's putting you in a position to where you have to trust in him. That means you have to pray to him and do the things that's necessary so that his face will shine upon you and you will receive his glory. Of course, we know that he's going to give us what he wants to give us, and what he don't want us to give us, he's going to allow the adversary, the devil, to take. But when those things come upon us, what we have to do is this. We have to glory when we have, and we have to glory when we have not. 2 Peter 1, in verse 1 through verse 12.
Simon Peter, a servant and an apostle of Yeshua HaMashiach, to them that have obtained like precious faith with us through the righteousness of Elohim and our Savior Yeshua HaMashiach, grace and peace be multiplied unto you through the knowledge of Elohim and of Yeshua our Adonai, according as his divine power have given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that have called us to glory and virtue, whereby are given unto us exceeding great and precious promises, that by these you might be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. And beside this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to virtue knowledge.
This is what Lucifer is trying to take away from us, all of your virtue. If he take away your virtue, then he will destroy your faith. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 6, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness love. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that you shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Adonai Yeshua HaMashiach.
Amen.
But he that lacketh these things is blind, and cannot see afar, and hath forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if you do these things, you shall never fall. For so an entrance shall be ministered unto you abundantly into the everlasting kingdom of our Adonai and Savior, Yeshua HaMashiach.
And the key to these things, the key to obtaining these things is what? Prayer and good godly works. A lot of us do a lot of works, but then what you have to do is ask yourself, when was the last time I earnestly prayed with all of my heart instead of giving Yahweh lip service? Go ahead and read, brother.
Last verse 12. Wherefore I will not be negligent to put you always in remembrance of these things, though you know them, and be established in the present truth.
Amen and amen. Surely all of us have varying gifts for our profession, and all things are for our upbringing in Israel's family. So the Spirit set things in place that through using the gift which each saint supplied, we grow in grace, and the word is more easily entreated by all. Seeing that Yahweh's word of truth is being manifest and heralded throughout the works of the Spirit and Yahweh's gifts among us, this convinces us that we are all servants of the Elohim of Israel, because no man has been our taskmaster. And Yahweh knows that from the Spirit given, the Culture Center of NCCI Atlanta, Yahweh knows that his truth and works have been far-reaching on a vast media, and what has been shown in the hearts and minds of men, which their deeds show, is made manifest among us. So when saints assemble in departmental meetings or in holy convention, the fellowship is to utilize the gifts to the glory of Yahweh through the guidance of the Holy Ghost, and gives us ways, reasons, and methods wherein we should and may rejoice before him. So don't let anyone judge you in regards to law, because you serve the Elohim of Israel and not man. The proof is in the works. 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 27 through chapter 13 and verse 13. 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 27 through chapter 13 and verse 13.
verse 27. Now you are the body of the Anointed One, and members in particular. And Elohim have set some in the church, first apostles, secondarily prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Have all the gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But covet earnestly the best gifts, and yet show I unto you a more excellent way. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I can remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profited me nothing. Love suffereth long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as I also am known. And now by the faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
Okay, Colossians 3 in verse 1 through chapter 4 and verse 6. Colossians 3 in verse 1 through chapter 4 and verse 6.
If you then be risen with the Anointed One, seek those things which are above, where the Anointed One sitteth on the right hand of Elohim. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. For you are dead, and your life is hid with the Anointed One in Elohim. When the Anointed One, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscences, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things sake the wrath of Elohim cometh on the children of disobedience, into which you also walked some time when you lived in them. But now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but the Anointed One is all and in all. Verse 9, lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but the Anointed One is all and in all. Put on, therefore, as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering.
A lot of us don't want to deal with these things here now. We go just as far as we'll go, but then what we do is we'll draw a line and say, well, I'm not going to go over this here until this here happens. I'm not going to do this until that happens. It's because we have a lack of faith and because we have a great lack of love toward each other. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 13. Verse 12 again. Put on, therefore, as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as the Anointed One forgave you, so also do you.
Mm-hmm.
And above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of Elohim rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of the Anointed One dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs.
Half and captain. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 18. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in the Adonai. Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them.
A lot of us run into some strange positions within two verses right there. But see, Yahweh still meant what he said, regardless to what we think about it. Go ahead and read, brother. We didn't write this. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto the Adonai. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing Elohim. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to the Adonai, and not unto men, knowing that of the Adonai you shall receive the reward of the inheritance. For you serve the Adonai, the Anointed One. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he have done, and there's no respect of persons. Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that you also have a master in heaven. Continue in prayer, and watch in the same with thanksgiving, with all praying also for us, that Elohim would open unto us a door of utterance to speak the mystery of the Anointed One, for which I am also in bonds, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time.
Walk in wisdom toward them that are without, redeeming the time. A lot of times we have employers that and what we'll do is we'll go to work and we won't work for these employees as we are working in Yahweh. Don't you think Yahweh see that? It's against our instruction, because you're supposed to do that just as you would be working in the Messiah. I mean, you take a job, we take jobs, and the job, man, this job, he ain't paying me enough money for all this work. Well, quit your job. That's all you got to do. Quit your job and have to take care of that. But while you're on the job, you're supposed to do what? Work just as if you are working for the Messiah. These are instructions. Why? Not just to have something to say, but because you are the children of the true and the living God. And Yahweh gives his rain upon the just and the unjust, and he calls the sun to shine upon all. Go ahead and finish up, Steve.
Last verse 6. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer every man.
Okay, my brother. 1 Peter 2 in verse 21 through chapter 5 and verse 11. 1 Peter 2 in verse 21 through chapter 5 and verse 11. There's a lot of things that we read in our instructions that a lot of us have a tendency to get away from. We do a lot of works and so forth, but we have a tendency to get away from these things, and these things need to be brought back to our remembrance, because in these things surely we commit sin. And And when we commit sin, then we are of our father, the devil. And Yahweh and the devil can't dwell in the same room together. 1 Peter 2, and pick that up at verse 21 through chapter 5 and verse 11.
Verse 21. For even hereunto were you called, because the Anointed One also suffered for us, leaving us an example that you should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who, when he was reviled not again, when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes you were healed. Mm-hmm. For you were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your soul.
In other words, so when somebody do something against you, or when somebody say something that you don't like, take it. Take it and walk on about your business, which you'll find out it takes two people to make an argument. It takes two people to fight, right? So when people come up and say things that you don't like, then just say, well, you know, that's the way you feel. That's the way you feel, my brother. I can't change your feel. And go on about your business. Don't linger around. Go on about your business, because the wrath of Yahweh is going to smoke against that person sooner or later. And you remember the story about the tower that Salome that fell on all of those people. Do you think all those people was unrighteous? I think not. They was in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is why the scripture tell us about who we should fellowship and how we should govern our lives. We can't be won over by the conversation of the flesh and by what our minds tell us, simply because many times we're in opposition to the scripture, and we'll find out once we're in opposition to the scripture, then how can we obtain the blessings of our God? Then when we obtain blessing, we have to be careful. Who gave us that blessing? Go ahead and read, brother.
1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1. Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and a wearing of gold or putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Elohim of great price.
Amen.
For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in Elohim, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Adonai, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
So when we get in families and the husband's talking about doing one thing and the wife is talking about doing another thing, they ain't going to get nothing done until their prayer, because their prayers are hindered. Nothing in righteousness. They're going to get a whole lot of junk done, may even accomplish the goal that they're trying to accomplish. But believe one thing. If there's adversity there, Yahweh's going to visit you for it. Sooner or later, he's going to visit you for it. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 8. Finally, be you all of one mind, having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil, or railing for railing, but on the other hand, blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called, that you should inherit a blessing.
Right, and understanding that two wrongs don't make a right. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensue it. For the eyes of the Adonai are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Adonai is against them that do evil. And who is he that will harm you, if you be followers of that which is good? But and if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you. And be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify the Adonai Elohim in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear, having a good conscience that, whereas they speak evil of you as evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Anointed One. For it is better, if the will of Yah be so, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. For the Anointed One also have once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Elohim, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit, by which also he went and preached unto the angels in prison, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long-suffering of Elohim waited in the days of Noah, while the ark were preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls were saved by water. The like figure whereunto even baptism does also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a good conscience toward Elohim by the resurrection of Yahshua HaMashiach.
Verse 21 said, the like figure wherein even baptism does also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but an answer of good conscience toward Elohim by the resurrection of Yahshua HaMashiach. Because without this resurrection, without us receiving the things that we receive, then truly we won't do the research and understand the things we understand to be more Christ-like. And each day we are growing more Christ-like, although your neighbor may not see it. But guess what? Your neighbor's not your judge. Okay, go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 22, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of Elohim, of angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him. For as much then as the Anointed One hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Elohim.
Amen.
For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Euro-Gentiles when we walk in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riots, speaking evil of you, who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead. But for this cause was the gospel preached also to them that are now dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to Elohim in the spirit. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man have received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim.
This is why, this is the reason why we are told to do good unto those when it is in your power to do it. And don't withhold those things. But go ahead and read, my brother.
Verse 11. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim.
This way you can get a whole lot of things that come up between brothers separate. Go ahead, brother.
If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim giveth, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua HaMashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you, but rejoice, inasmuch as you are partakers of the Anointed One's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. If you be reproached for the name of the Anointed One, happy are you, for the Spirit of glory and of Elohim rests upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. Yet, if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Yah on this behalf.
Right. If you suffer just because you be a follower of Christ, don't be ashamed. But do what? Let him glorify Elohim that you are even able to suffer for the master's sake. But go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of Elohim. And if it first began at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Elohim? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of Elohim commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful Creator. The elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder, and a witness of the sufferings of the Anointed One, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed, feed the flock of Elohim which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind, neither as being Adonais over Elohim's heritage, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive the crown of glory that fadeth not away. Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elders. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For Elohim resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of Elohim, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, because he careth for you. Be sober, verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the Elohim of all grace, who have called us unto his eternal glory by Yeshua HaMashiach, after that you have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own personal wrestlings that genuine love becomes unhinged. And we find ourselves to be more vulnerable to rebellion walking without the spirit of love. As the judgments and trials of diligence, loyalty, and faith comes upon a soul, if we don't walk in Yahweh's love, we resist the purging the Spirit is working in our person towards perfection. Yahweh is love personified. Therefore, if we live life in the fullness of the Spirit, it's because we are his offspring, and the peace of Elohim is in the heart and of our mind. Being the children of light, let us walk as the children of light. But if we allow the darkness to come, if we play the part of Pagliacci the clown, then surely we will become as remorseful as Job, and our words and actions in personal things will be inadvised and untempered. But Yahweh has called us to peace. Deuteronomy chapter 30 in verse 1 through verse 10. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1 through verse 10. Folks we get off into a whole lot of the situations and circumstances that we created ourselves. And then what we want to do, we walk around acting like sad sack the clown, trying to, I don't know what we be trying to do. But Yahweh watches these things. This is why we have to walk in a way to where we let our light so shine before men that they'll see our good works and not our bad side. That way they'll glorify our Father in heaven. We all have burdens to bear, so when we have these burdens, we have to pick up that cross and carry it. Ain't no doubt about it. Deuteronomy 30, in verse 1 through verse 10.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things will come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Elohim have driven thee, and shall return unto Yahweh thy Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul, that then Yahweh thy Elohim will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Elohim have scattered thee.
But there was a stipulation, wasn't it? The stipulation was in verse 2. And shall return unto Yahweh your Elohim, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul, then. So we can fake at it as much as we want to, but it's not going to happen until we put our person in a position to where we can walk humbly and justly before our God, because that's what he requires. A contrite and humble spirit. And without a contrite and humble spirit, how can we even hope or even dream to receive the holy things of God? So let's not deceive ourselves, but let us follow after love, because if we don't follow after love, and Yahweh is love, then truly we'll never understand what this whole thing is all about. Go ahead and read, brother. Yeah.
Saying that we all should be in that unity, right? Suffer humility. So, people say that they don't have to be somebody above them or leaders, but they say be subject to one another.
Of course. Of course, brother. We have different duties to be done in this congregation, right? Well, then everybody who have the gifts, we are subject to one another, because this brother is subject to how that brother over there do his job. This job here is subject to how that sister over there do their job, and all of us become subject of one another, right? But it has to be put in place. Someone has to stand in the breach for these things. Okay? And this is what people don't want to deal with, brother. People want to deal with things the way that they want to deal with them, the way that Lucifer raised us up in this man's system here. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Like I keep saying, we all must understand that all of us were raised up from a child in this kingdom of the adversary, the devil. We were miseducated about the way that we should do things in church and in schools, and we see these things in the street, and we carry on these things from day to day and make them a part of our makeup of things, right? We better get rid of it. We better get rid of it, because the Spirit will not dwell where unrighteousness dwells. Go ahead and read, Steve.
Verse 4. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Elohim gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy Elohim will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Elohim will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live.
Right, and we have to ask ourselves, what reason have I given Yahweh for him to circumcise my heart to love it? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 7. And Yahweh thy Elohim will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy Elohim will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land, for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law. And if you turn unto Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
Right. It's no sense in keeping the law with malice in your heart. You have to want to keep the laws of God, because it's our righteousness if we do it this way. Luke 17 in verse 20 through verse 24. Luke chapter 17 in verse 20 through verse 24.
verse 20. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of Elohim should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of Elohim cometh not with observation, neither shall they say, lo here, or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of Elohim is within you.
The kingdom of Elohim is within you. It's not, you don't have to wait for it to come with any observation. It's within you, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 22. And he said unto the disciples, the days will come when you shall desire to see one of the days of the Son of Man, and you shall not see it. And they shall say to you, see here, or see there. Go not after them, nor follow them. For as the lightning that lighteth out of the one part under heaven shineth unto the other part under heaven, so shall also the Son of Man be in his day.
Okay, my brother. Romans 14 and verse 1 through verse 19. Romans 14, verse 1 through verse 19.
Verse 1. He that is weak in the faith, receive you, but not to doubtful disputation.
Mm-hmm.
For one believes that he may eat all things, another who is weak eateth herbs. Let not him that eateth despise him that eateth not, and let not him which eateth not judge him. Let not him which eateth not, judge him that eateth, for Elohim have received him.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you that judge another man's servant? To his own master he stands or falls. Yea, he shall be held up, for Elohim is able to make him stand.
This is why he told us to love you one another. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. One man esteems one day above another. Another esteems every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day, regardeth it unto the Adonai. And he that regardeth not the day to the Adonai, he does not regard it. He that eateth, eateth to the Adonai, for he gives Elohim thanks. And he that eateth not to the Adonai, he eateth not and giveth Elohim thanks. For none of us lives to himself, and no man dies to himself. But whether we live unto the Adonai, and whether we die unto the Adonai. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are the Adonai. For to this end the Anointed One both died and rose and revived, that he might be Adonai both of the dead and living. But why do you judge your brother? Or why do you set at naught your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of the Anointed.
Right, so when you have the power within your hand to aid your brother in any ways, then that's what you're supposed to do. Isn't that what you pray to Yahweh for him to do for you? Good. The scripture says, do unto others as you will have them to do unto you. Not do to others before they do unto you. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. For it is written, as I live, says the Adonai, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to Elohim. So then, every one of us shall give account of himself to Elohim. Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way.
And when we have, like I was saying about the opportunities, when we have the opportunity to do something for someone and we don't do it, you may be putting a stumbling block in his way, because he may have to go another route to do that and cause himself some serious problems. See, and you could have saved a multitude of sins. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. I know and am persuaded by the Adonai Yeshua that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteems anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. But if your brother be grieved with your meat, now walk with you not charitably. Destroy not him with your meat, for whom the anointed one died. Let not then your good be evil spoken of. For the kingdom of Elohim is not meat and drink, but righteousness and peace and joy in the Holy Ghost. For he that is in these things serveth Elohim is acceptable. Verse 18. For he that in these things serveth the anointed one is acceptable to Elohim and approved of men. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another.
Amen and amen. If we walk in the word having righteousness imputed, if we strive to keep peace among us, if we strive in the works rather, and towards perfection, if we joy in the presence and the deeds of the Holy Ghost among us, whether it's in our own personal life or in the church, then surely it's because the kingdom of Elohim is within the heart and the minds of a soul. Why so? Because we deal with each other in the justice of brotherly love, just as will be done in the kingdom that heaven will sit upon this earth. We don't actually see the physical kingdom, but we try to walk as though it's already made manifest among us, which it is within our hearts through the divine power of the Spirit. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 1 through chapter 27 and verse 13.
Into the kingdom of Yahshua. It's like a mental, heaven, concept.
Right. Adam had one commandment, he couldn't keep it. We got two, and we don't want to keep those. The love of God and love of each other. If we don't love each other, how can we say we love God? I mean, not that fake phony stuff we go through. Y'all know we good at that. I love you.
The rainfall is good, the body is indifferent. So we keep the commandments in front of walking the footsteps of Yah says. For the Holy Jews, we have to do good. This still get random food, so that we must take that as an example.
Right.
Right.
You got to show your love towards them too, Helen.
Yes, sir.
Because Yahweh shows his love to them. They're still alive, aren't they? They just bowed down to an idol, but they're still alive, aren't they? So Yahweh showing them some grace, brother, and that's what it's all about. Grace and mercy, and this is why our heart has to be rich with those things. Isaiah 24 and verse 1 through chapter 27 and verse 13.
Behold, Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of interest, so with the giver of interest to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for Yahweh hath spoken this word. The earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away, the haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws of Moshe, changed the ordinance given by the apostles, broken the Sabbath day. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. The new wine mourneth, the vine languisheth, all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceases, the noise of them that rejoice endeth, the joy of the heart ceases. They shall not drink wine with a song, strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. When thus it shall be in the midst of the land among the people, there shall be as the shaking of an olive tree, and as the gleaming grapes when the vintage is done. They shall lift up their voice. They shall sing for the majesty of Yahweh. They shall cry aloud from the sea. Wherefore glorify you, Yahweh, in the fires, even the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel in the isles of the sea. From the uttermost part of the earth have we heard songs, even glorious to the righteous. But I said, my leanness, woe unto me. The treacherous dealers have dealt treacherously. Yea, the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon you, O inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit. And he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. And the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall rise, and not it shall fall, and not rise again.
This is why we're going to need Yahweh's protection. Don't think that we are so Mr. Goody Two-Shoes that we already have his protection. But the thing of it is, we're going to need this when all of these calamities get ready to come up on the earth. Who's going to be able to stand? Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when Yahweh of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously.
Amen.
O Yahweh, you are my Elohim. I will exalt you. I will praise your name. For you have done wonderful things. Your counsels of old are faithfulness and truth. For you have made of a city an heap, of a defenced city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no city. It shall never be built. Therefore shall the strong people glorify you. The city of the terrible nation shall fear you. For you have been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shadow from the heat, when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. Thou shalt bring down the noise of strangers as the heat in a dry place, even the heat with the shadow of a cloud. The branch of the terrible one shall be brought low. And in this mountain shall Yahweh of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the leaves, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the leaves well refined. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death in victory, and the Adonai Elohim will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth, for Yahweh hath spoken it. And it shall be said in that day, Lo, this is our Elohim. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is Yahweh. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. For in this mountain shall the hand of Yahweh rest, and Moab shall be trodden down under him, even as straw is trodden down for the dunghill. And he shall spread forth his hands in the midst of them, as he that swimmeth spreadeth forth his hands to swim. And he shall bring down their pride together with the spoils of their hands. And the fortress of the high fort of your wall shall he bring down, lay low, and bring to the ground, even to the dust. In that day shall this song be sung in the land of Yehuda. We have a strong city. Salvation will Elohim appoint for walls and bulwarks. Open you the gates, that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Trust you in Yahweh forever, for in the Adonai Yahweh is everlasting strength. For he bringeth down them that dwell on high, the lofty city he layeth it low. He layeth it low even to the ground, he bringeth it even to the dust. The foot shall tread it down, even the feet of the poor, and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is uprightness. Thou, most upright, doth weigh the path of the just. Yea, in the way of thy judgments, O Yahweh, have we waited for you. The desire of our soul is to your name and to the remembrance of you. With my soul have I desired you in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek you early. For when your judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness.
Amen.
Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of Yahweh.
That's why he won't be there. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 11. Yahweh, when your hand is lifted up, they will not see, but they shall see and be ashamed for their envy at the people. Yea, the fire of your enemies shall devour them. Yahweh, you will ordain peace for us, for you also have wrought all our works in us. O Yahweh, our Elohim, other Adonais beside you have had dominion over us, but by you only will we make mention of your name. They are dead, they shall not live. They are deceased, they shall not rise. Therefore have you visited and destroyed them, and made all their memory to perish. You have increased the nation, O Yahweh. You have increased the nation. You are glorified. You have removed it far unto all the ends of the earth. Yahweh, in trouble have they visited you. They poured out a prayer when your chastening was upon them. Like as a woman with child that draweth near the time of her delivery is in pain, and crieth out in her pains, so have we been in your sight, O Yahweh. We have been with child. We have been in pain. We have, as it were, brought forth wind. We have not wrought any deliverance in the earth, neither have the inhabitants of the world fallen. Your dead men shall live. Together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, you that dwell in dust, for your dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people, enter you into your chambers, and shut your doors about you. Hide yourself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpassed. For behold, Yahweh cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. In that day Yahweh with his sword and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan, that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea.
Amen.
In that day sing you unto her a vineyard of red wine. I, Yahweh, do keep it. I will water it every moment, lest any hurt it. I will keep it night and day. Fear is not in me. Who would set the briars and thorns against me in battle? I would go through them. I would burn them together. Or let him take hold of my strength, that he may make peace with me, and he shall make peace with me. He shall cause them that come of Jacob to take root. Israel shall blossom and bud, and fill the face of the world with fruit. Have he smitten him as he smote those that smote him? Or is he slain according to the slaughter of them that are slain by him? In measure, when it shoots forth, you will debate with it. He stabbed his rough wind in the day of the east wind. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged. And this is all the fruit to take away his sin. When he maketh all the stones of the altars as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, the groves and images shall not stand up. Yet the defenced city shall be desolate, and the habitation forsaken and left like a wilderness. There shall the calf feed, and there shall he lie down and consume the branches thereof. When the boughs thereof are withered, they shall be broken off. The women come and set them on fire. For it is a people of no understanding. Therefore he that made them will not have mercy on them, and he that formed them will show them no favor. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt, and you shall be gathered one by one, O you children of Israel. And it shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown, and they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship Yahweh in the holy mount at Jerusalem.
And the trumpet that he's talking about being blown here, the great trumpet, is the trumpet of the Jubilee. You have a Jubilee every 50 years. And this trumpet here will be blown on that day. It's going to be blown on the Day of Atonement, and it's the Messiah that's going to blow that trumpet. And once he blow that trumpet, all the nations are going to bring, when you read the law book, it tells you that everything has to go out free. This is when all the nations are going to begin bringing the children of Israel back up to the land of Israel and giving Yahweh his people that they have misused and abused all of these years so that they can receive some peace. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 20, chapter 28.
No, you finished that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Amos 9 and verse 11 through verse 15. Amos chapter 9 and verse 11 through verse 15.
Out the earth.
From one end of the earth to the other, that's what the blowing of the trumpet is all about. When you get in the book of Numbers 10th chapter, I did a class once on the blowing of the trumpets, and you can see
In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of thy weed that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen which are called by my name, says Yahweh that doeth it.
Now, he said they shall possess them. We just read about Moab being trodden down on them, right? And he's going to go through them like a man that swimmeth, right? And then here it says that they may possess the remnant of Edom, who is in our land today, and of all the heathen which are called by my name. In other words, all the nations that become a part of the family of Abraham, these will also be in possession of the children of Israel. Israel is going to blossom and bud and fill the face of the whole earth with fruit, not necessarily with natural fruit, but with the fruits of the Spirit, which will bring righteousness, peace and prosperity during the kingdom that Messiah was set up on the earth for 1,000 years. This to give man the opportunity to attain eternal life in a kingdom that's going to be set up in peace and in righteousness, that's going to be governed from the heavens itself. Go ahead and
No elder. Boy, missed that, didn't you? You remember years ago we went up there? That Edom was going to get ripped off?
Tell a brother, I told you, a brother, a Christian.
I think number 24 said somebody Edom was going to be a possession, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere back in there.
I told you, but eventually Edom's whole seed is going to be stolen. But like I told you before, brother, and brothers, they're a bunch of Christians. They're a bunch of Hebrew Christians. But then Yahweh is dealing with them the way that he has to deal with them. That's why I stay up over there messing with them, brother. Amos 9, and pick that 11, verse 11 through verse 15, because I truly believe that as this thing gets closer to the wire, closer to our deliverance, that's a lot of people that's going to turn to Yahweh with all the heart and all the soul. Because Israel got to be saved. This is why we can't judge what other folks do. You know, folks get up and get out of here. That's things that you just pray for them. Amos 9, pick that up, verse 11, my brother.
Yes, sir. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of thy weed that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and of all the heathen, which are called by my name, says Yahweh, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the tread of grapes him that soweth seed, and the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. And I will bring again the captivity of my people of Israel, and they shall build away cities and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, says Yahweh, your Elohim.
Okay, my brother. Micah chapter 7, and verse 1 through verse 21. Micah chapter 7, and verse 1 through verse 21.
The tabernacle of David, you get that same quotation in Acts chapter 5.
Of course.
Apostles and things, they believe in the prophecy.
Of course.
Never meant to go into the heaven.
Right. This is why the apostles asked the Messiah. Say, when he told them to tarry you at Jerusalem till you be endowed with power from on high. This is why they asked him, say, Adonai, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? All the apostles and all of the earlier Gentiles knew that this thing was going on. It's going to be a kingdom set up. But then the Jehovah's Witnesses come through talking about, do you think that's going to be a literal thing? You damn right. All the other four empires set up was literal, weren't they? But they're trying to make it seem like it's something spooky. And then during the 1600s, here come the Midianites. We're going to be raptured off to heaven. And then they brought that garbage on, and people just stopped reading the prophecy simply because all of the Christians started dealing specifically with what they deem as the New Testament. Ain't no such animal. It's one doctrine from Genesis to Revelation to show you that. In the garden, he told Lucifer, I'm going to put an adversary between your seed and the woman's seed. You shall bruise his heel, and he shall bruise your head, right? Well, all of that had to do with the book of Revelation, you see. So the things that were spoken in the beginning and the things that are spoken now, we can very well see these things haven't changed. And if we don't study these things and we don't walk in these ways, then truly we can understand one thing. All of the time we spent sitting up, faking and serving the true and living God to be in vain.
In the world, he had to know from the book of Daniel, when you read the book of Josephus, when he went to Jerusalem, the priest took him and showed him the scrolls. He said he saw it in dream. He knew that he was going to rule it. That's why he didn't have a doubt.
Why do you think he didn't destroy the temple? Why do you think he got on out of Jerusalem and went on down in Egypt here? Right, let that stuff stand because he knew that these were the prophecies that had already been set up about. And he knew another thing. He knew it was Yahweh that was bringing him up on. They showed him, said, look, this is you right here, the Greek Empire. And there he was standing right there in the temple.
A lot of times these things blinded people's minds because the more and more that these so-called Gentiles start to understand this book and to know that they might have to bow down to you and the prophecies about you makes them blind and they don't want to do it. They don't want to adhere to it. So what they attempt to do is to change all the things in these different philosophies and whatnot. The Jehovah's Witnesses, even at that time, wanted to make a little turn without just talking about God as a Negro. And white people cannot stand the idea of retribution and having anything done to them of what they've done to other people. And it's fearful silly.
Of course it does. But see, the thing of it is this. Yahweh gave them that power. Yahweh gave them 2,520 years to rule the earth. And their rule is coming to an end, and they don't want their rule to come to an end. You know why? They know how they govern themselves with all the other scenes upon the earth. I mean, these crackers can fought everybody. You see? Why? Because it was Yahweh that put them in that position. You know, and as far as what they did to us, he didn't mean to do those things, but Yahweh gave us in his hand and put it in his heart to destroy our people. But now the time of Reformation has come about, and he's still in the process of destroying our people. Why? Because our people have become Gentiles. We went through the Civil Rights Movement, and when we came up out of the Civil Rights Movement, black folks walking around talking about, well, we're all Gentiles. Right. Now that they're Gentiles, they're going to be destroyed as Gentiles. Y'all be going to bring them up out of this captivity. But once you get them up out of this captivity, just think, 2 out of 3 of our people are going to be destroyed. 2 out of 3. And that's going to leave us a very, very small remnant when you compare us with the people that's going to be up on the earth. We're still going to be a minority now. But see, the nations, seeing that they have the power, the nations are, we got to understand that who the nations are following. The nations are following the adversary, the devil, simply because Yahweh is giving them up to that. This is why when you get in the book of Revelation, and read the book of Revelation, he has something against all the churches except the church in Philadelphia that was in revision in the year of 98 A.D. Well, where are they today? If the church of Philadelphia, any of those other churches was alive and remained today, they'd be sitting right up in here with you. Micah 7, and pick that up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Verse 1. Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits as the grape gleanings of the vintage. There's no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net, that they may do evil with both hands earnestly. The prince asketh, and the judge asketh for reward, and the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire. So they wrap it up.
It comes together quite a bit in that political arena, in that religious arena that we have to deal with. So go ahead and read, brother.
Right? That's exactly what it is. And you have to go for the good. So our people didn't understand that when they sit down there.
And the only thing Jake understands is this. If he got him some money, he's going to get him a good lawyer. He's going to get out of it. See? Everybody thinks if they had money like OJ, they're going to get away with it. Okay? That's what they think. But see, they may get away, they're going to bleed you out of your money, and he may let you go free. But guess what? There's going to become a judgment, bro. And you might have escaped the wrath of man, but you will not escape the wrath of God. You believe that. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 4.
You see, this is why we told us don't vote to put nobody over us. See? But today, you tell people, say, no, I don't vote. Well, don't vote, don't gripe. You know, I'm not griping. You haven't heard me gripe. You asked me if I was going to vote. And I told you I wasn't going to vote. That's all I said. Is that a gripe?
That's what they tell you, bro.
Why should I vote? I put my vote in there. It haven't got my name on it. It ain't got my Social Security number on it, right? Well, how do I know? How is this man going to come and do anything for me? He got my vote, right? Well, pay me. You didn't give me my 40 acres and a mule. Now you want to take my vote and then throw them in the trash can, the ones that you don't want to use. And then going to sit around and tell me that there's no respect to persons in the nation. Yes, it is. We know the Christians run this earth, don't we? Okay. And if you're not a Christian brother, we got brothers in this congregation now, a brother, I should say, that a company owed him an album. But you know what they told that brother? We didn't give it to you because you ain't a Christian. Now, what is that? That shows you they didn't even want to make his money. No money off that brother. Now, that's kind of deep, then. Yeah. But Yahweh's doing his business with that, so that's going to make itself manifest also. Yeah.
Is it all right in this ballot, though? There's the option to vote no. Nobody there represents anything that you're about. Is it all right to vote like that?
No sense in going into the ballot group. That means no.
Well, you let them know that.
They got lever numbers. You pull in the lever about you got candidates alongside them, right? Well, you can't pull the hammer if you're going to vote for somebody. You cannot pull it. The hammer will not come down unless you vote for somebody. You got to pull those levers, right? Well, if there ain't nobody you can vote for, what's the sense of going into the booth? You might as well stay home. You ain't doing but wasting your gas and your time on it. Right. Because regardless of who you vote for, brother, they ain't going to do what you want to do. They're going to do what the money people want them to do. You saw what happened when Jose Williams got elected, didn't it? They asked Jose to say, look, now that you come up on the, they asked Marvin Arrington, say, well, now you got this grassroots watchdog up on the hill, what's going to happen? They said, when Jose come up on this mountain, he's going to play politics. And he did. just like all the rest of them did. A lot of our people go in the office all gung-ho. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. Man, them white folks control this thing here. See? Them white folks control. Why do you think Elvis Bell got caught up in the dope house up in Buckhead, huh? Because white folks run this.
You know when in political power, the guy that came out and revealed that he was a homo.
Right.
I'm saying when you vote these people, they're putting people in a position that
When you're justifying the wicked.
justify that as
Right.
an Israelite.
Right. You're justifying the wicked. I'm going to vote for him because I think he'll do all right. No, he won't. He's a Christian. Or he's a Muslim. You got very few Hebrews that run for any kind of office anywhere.
Yeah, you know what stopped me from voting? I voted, that was back in 77, I think it was last. I'm a young man. It was Niedermeyer. Downtown, had a clothing store, pulled me off to the side, and he told me about Jimmy Carter. Man, I was ready to put Jimmy Carter, I was ready to vote for him. And he told me some things about Jimmy Carter, some things he had done in Plains, Georgia. How everything Israel was trying to go into, he shut it down. Libraries, stores, he shut down everything. But that got me, he said, you people do not do any research on the people that you even deal with.
Right.
That's what that Edomite said. Y'all are very foolish people.
Right.
And, I was offended, but when I got off to myself, I thought about it.
Well, brother, I'm going to tell you something. The first and last time I voted for John F. Kennedy, and they ripped him off when I was through with politics. The Jesuits come in there like a big dog and ripped that dude off because he had denounced the Roman Catholic Church by becoming the king of the most powerful Protestant country on the earth. And the Jesuits went on and ripped him off. He was messing with their money too much that way. You see what happened, don't you? His brother was Attorney General, and who did he go after? The Teamsters. The Teamsters. Man, it's those unions and so forth that the Roman Catholic and the mafia that the Roman Catholic Church made all their money off.
He signed his own death warrant.
Of course he did.
Those Irish and Italians, they've been fighting for a long time for power.
Yeah, and they still fighting, brother. Yeah, they ain't gonna stand for that.
The homo? I thought he said he was a homo.
No, he said he's a faggot. You can call him anything you want. You can call him, put any nice name on it. He's a sissy, and he's a faggot. That's what's wrong with him. And I always say, there ain't gonna be no faggots in this kingdom. Yeah. Man, go and read, man. This man shut up. Hold on.
When they run for these offices and they get to a certain point, that the pressure that is brought to bear on some of those individuals, if they don't have a theology and if they don't have a belief in the Almighty, and if the Almighty has not called them to go into that, because it is a calling to go into to be a servant in that political arena, they won't be able to stand up against that, because once that man comes to them and puts pressure on them, and he will kill you, and he puts pressure on you and your family, whether like it, those people capitulate. And instead of them not having the truth to stand up and back them up, they fall down just by the way.
Brother, let me tell you something. They put pressure, regardless of what a person's belief is, they put pressure on the most powerful people on earth. Didn't they murder the Pope? Okay. See, I don't care where you go. Don't care how high you get. When you get to messing with them Gentiles' cash flow, you're in big trouble. Because the whole thing is about cash flow. They don't give a damn who's in office. As long as their cash flow is not cut off and it increases. And when that Pope, how long he stayed in office? 30, 31 days? He went in there, brother. The first thing he did was went into the Vatican Bank and started messing around in the Vatican Bank. And you see what happened, don't you? They poisoned it. Right.
Even in that movie with Denzel today with the Manchurian Candidate, that woman tells that man in there that give God this money.
Right.
They come out and tell a whole lot of things.
Didn't Lucifer take the Messiah up on the pinnacle and show them all the kingdoms of the earth and the wealth thereof, and say, all this I give to you if you fall down and worship me, because it is given to me, and I give it to who I will, right? Now we know why all us broke, don't we? On and on, because Yahweh, man, you know, I got a letter in the mail last week from Madrid, Spain. Told me I'd won $651,810. All I got to do is fax my My address, no, they ain't getting that. They ask on there, do you want this forwarded to an account? And they leave a space for your account number. And then they say, or either they said, would you prefer a certified check? And I would circle certified check. And you know what? I ain't going to about to send it to you. You know why? If Yahweh make me rich, I'm going to lose my soul, man. And I know it. I know it. I know it. And everybody around me know it. You know, so... See, that's why I stopped playing the lottery. I want one of y'all to hit it. I don't want that ruin to come under my hand, and y'all know why He's keeping us poor. He's keeping us poor because as long as He keeps us poor, we would depend on it. But then, if He allow Satan to give us a bank account this long, we do deal. Because a little money corrupts, and a lot of money corrupts totally, and we know it. Someplace, we ain't going to do what we supposed to. I don't care how many accountants we get on this thing here. Someplace you're not going to do with some of that money what you're supposed to do with it, and y'all be going to visit you for it. Because poor, man, we ain't going to do nothing for the poor. We're going to go down there and feed somebody, but that's all. We ain't going to build no buildings and so forth for the poor to live in and nothing like that. We ain't going to do that. That's why we're too much. Let's go and finish up. Micah 7.
Verse 4?
Yeah.
Micaiah chapter 7, verse 4. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn.
You see what he said? The best of them is as a briar, right? The most upright is sharper than a thorn head, right? Go ahead, brother.
The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity. Verse 5. Trust you not in a friend. Put you not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of your mouth from her that lies in your bosom. For the son dishonoreth the father. The daughter rises up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore I will look unto Yahweh. I will wait for the Elohim of my salvation. My Elohim will hear me. Rejoice not against me, O my enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Yahweh shall be a light unto me. I will bear the indignation of Yahweh, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness.
Amen.
Then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, Where is Yahweh thy Elohim? Mine eyes shall behold her, now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the street. In the day that your walls are to be built, in that day shall the decree be far removed.
In that day shall the curse be far removed. Remember, we just read that the veil that's over on the whole earth is going to be taken away from all the nations. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. In that day also he shall come even to you from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doing.
Now, we got the Christians over there in the land. We got the Muslims over there in the land, right? We got all these other people in the land that's corrupting the land, and it said, notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, because of the things that they're doing upon the land. Blood defiles the land, and Israel has a constant stream of blood flowing upon it every day. But that's because we are not there. Go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 14. Feed your people with your rod, the flock of your heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old.
He said, I'm going to lure her and bring her to the wilderness. I'm going to speak comfortably unto her, and I'm going to give her vineyards from thence, and the door of a core for a door of hope. And she's going to sing there as she sang in her youth. And this is what verse 14 is all about. So go ahead and read, brother.
Verse 15. According to the days of thy coming out of the land of Egypt will I show unto him marvelous things. The nations shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hands upon their mouth, their ears shall be deaf. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. They shall move out of their holes like worms of the earth. They shall be afraid of Yahweh, our Elohim, and shall fear because of you. Who is a Elohim like unto you, that pardoneth iniquity, and passes by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. He will turn again. He will have compassion upon us. He will subdue our iniquities, and you will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea.
Amen.
You will perform the truth to Jacob, and the mercy to Abraham, which you have sworn unto our fathers from the days of old.
Amen and amen. As we see, the physical Davidic kingdom will be set up for all that are saved to be partakers of for 1,000 years. Even the dead who died in the Master will be there, and the Davidic kingdom will come with an outward show. This is the reason Yahshua has given us the first fruits of our labor in the things that are pertaining to the Spirit. This is the reason for all the great wrestling, the sacrificing from the heart, and the uplifting of our faith in what the Spirit is working among the saints of this sacred sanctified assembly. Zechariah chapter 2 in verse 1 through chapter 3 and verse 10. Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 1 through chapter 3 and verse 10. I'm almost finished also. What turns away his anger, brother? What you're supposed to do. All of us are saying he comes short of Yahweh's glory, and truly his anger is poured upon us, but that doesn't keep his hand from being stretched out still. You know, all we have to do is do what we're supposed to do, treat each other the way that we're supposed to treat each other, because if we don't treat each other the way we're supposed to treat each other, we'll never get close like this. Charity begins at home and spread abroad, and truly we are at home in this body. Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 1 through chapter 3 and verse 10.
Yes, sir. I lifted up mine eyes again, and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, says Yahweh, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, ho, come forth, and flee from the land of the north, says Yahweh, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, says Yahweh. Deliver yourself, Judah, that dwelleth with the daughter of Europe.
Deliver yourself. Deliver yourself. We have the power to deliver ourselves by doing what? By walking in what's written down, regardless of what the imagination of our foolish expression of mind is, by walking in what's written down. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. But thus says Yahweh of hosts, after the glory have he sent me unto the nations which spoil you, for he that touches you touches the apple of his eye.
Amen.
For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And you shall know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Judah, for lo, I come, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, says Yahweh. And many nations shall be joined to Yahweh in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee, and you shall know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me unto you.
Right, many nations going to be joined unto me, but I'm going to dwell in the midst of you, Israel, because of my love for you. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. And Yahweh shall inherit Yehudah, his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. Be silent, O all flesh, before Yahweh, for he is raised up out of his holy habitation. And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him.
To accuse him, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 2. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan. Even Yahweh that have chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire? Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with a change of raiment.
Iniquity was imputed to him. The brother didn't commit no iniquity. He was made to be sin for us, right? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 5. And I said, Let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with garments. And the angel of Yahweh stood by. And the angel of Yahweh protested unto Joshua, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, if you will walk in my ways, and if you will keep my charge, then you shall also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I will give you places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Joshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. For behold the stone that I have laid before Joshua. Upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graven thereof, says Yahweh of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, says Yahweh of hosts, shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree.
Amen. Chapter 6, in verse 9 through verse 15. That was Joshua the priest who told he was going to bring forth, but the same things happened to the Messiah. Remember in the book of Revelations where it said, and when he was talking about, he sat on the throne with the book in his hand, and he said, no man in heaven, nor under the earth, under the heavens, in the earth was able to open the book or to look down. And he said, and in the midst of the throne, in the midst of the 4 beasts and the elders stood a lamb, as he had been slain to death, right? So the filthy garments was taken off of him, and he was given what? He was given the girdle, the white raiment, and the gold girdle, and all that other good stuff. He had to go along with that. But it was talking about Joshua that came back from Babylon with Zerubbabel and those people. But it's the same thing that took place with the Messiah. That's why I went on to read that. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. Where I told you to go, man.
Zechariah chapter 6, verses 9 through 15.
Yeah.
And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Take them of the captivity, even of Hodiah and of Tobiah and of Jedaiah, which are come from Babylon, and come you the same day, and go into the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah. Then take silver and gold, and make crowns, and set them upon the head of Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and speak unto him, saying, Thus speak of Yahweh of hosts, saying, Behold the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of Yahweh. Even he shall build the temple of Yahweh, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. And the crowns shall be to Helam, and to Tobiah, and to Jedaiah, and to him the son of Zephaniah, for a memorial in the temple of Yahweh. And they that are far off shall come and build in the temple of Yahweh, and you shall know that Yahweh of hosts, have sent me unto you. And this shall come to pass if you will diligently obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim.
Well, my take on that is going to come to pass if you don't obey the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, simply because he had the mouth of Yahweh has spoken. What we read, this is why Yahweh will not leave us in the hand of the wicked, but will direct our feet and sustain us. Understand that the things accomplished in us, whether in our person or in the church, are the works of our Father. Therefore, through grace, the old leavening is being purged, that we may be as Yahshua, the firstborn of the sons and daughters of Yahweh Israel, our Father. Then will all the sanctified congregations Yahweh gave the unction be glorified. So be careful, be diligent, be prayerful, and most of all, may the love of Yahweh make us holy, even because of his holiness. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Psalms chapter 115 and verse 1 through 116 and 19. Psalms 115 and verse 1 to 116 and verse 19.
Verse 1. Not unto us, O Yahweh, not unto us, but unto your name give glory, for your mercy and for your truth's sake. Why should the heathen say, where is now their Elohim? But our Elohim is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. Noses have they, but they smell not. They have hands, but they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak they through their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusts in them. O Israel, trust you in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. You that fear Yahweh, trust in Yahweh. He is their help and their shield. Yahweh have been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless them that fear Yahweh, both small and great. Yahweh shall increase you more and more, you and your children. You are blessed of Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. The heavens, even the heavens, are Yahweh's, but the earth have he given to the children of men. The dead praise not Yahweh, neither any that go down into silence. But we will bless Yahweh from this time forth and forevermore. Praise Yahweh. I love Yahweh because he have heard my voice and my supplication. Because Yahweh have inclined his ear unto me, therefore will I call upon him as long as I live. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the pains of hell got hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then call I upon the name of Yahweh. O Yahweh, I beseech you, deliver my soul. Gracious is Yahweh and righteous. Yea, our Elohim is merciful. Yahweh preserveth the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Return unto your rest, O my soul, for Yahweh hath dealt bountifully with thee.
Praise Yahweh.
For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. I will walk before Yahweh in the land of the living. I believe, therefore have I spoken. I was greatly afflicted. I said in my haste, all men are liars. What shall I render unto Yahweh for all his benefits toward me? I will take the cup of salvation and call upon the name of Yahweh. I will pay my vows unto Yahweh now in the presence of all his people. Precious in the sight of Yahweh is the death of his saints. O Yahweh, truly I am your servant. I am your servant and the son of your handmaid. You have loosed my bonds. I will offer to you the sacrifice of thanksgiving, and will call upon the name of Yahweh. I will pay my vows unto Yahweh now in the presence of all his people, in the courts of Yahweh's house, in the midst of you, O Jerusalem. Praise you, Yahweh.
Amen and amen. So it's been said, so let it be written. Even so, come, Lord Yeshua, and save all of us out of our trouble. That's about all I'm going to do today, and may Yahweh have mercy upon us all.